I'm Les Stuart. I love management, orchestration, and automation. Been doing it quite a while. And the good news is that things have gotten much better. If you go back 3-4 years or more, you could look at Forrester or IDC reports and they would show the #1 cause of downtime being change in configuration errors. One says 62%, the other one said 87% respectively. Either way, it's a huge number, all right? So here's a little study that was been done by a company called Veriflow, and they've got the number down to 44%, but that's still huge. I think that number is actually small because if you go back, you know, problems on the network, the growth of the network, resources to manage the network went up fairly linearly. Now it's going up exponentially, especially with the number of devices and the diversity of devices and applications that are coming onto the infrastructure. Severely complicates things. You know, a lot of the discussions Aruba is involved in involves IoT. All kinds of devices coming onto the infrastructure. In addition, the complexity of the protocols and the network configurations and the topologies themselves have also gotten more complicated. All right, all this complexity lends itself to problems, configuration problems, and still configuration errors are the #1 cause of downtime. All right, now reports are more politically correct and they call it the human factor. All right, but it's still the same thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to harness that, we're going to wrangle it down to the ground with some of the tools specifically designed around CX. First, I'm going to go ahead and pass this around. We've got a pretty cool mobile app. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's called the CX Mobile App. It's downloadable, available for Android and iOS. It's not hooked up, because if I did, you could bring something down, right? But what it does is it leverages the Bluetooth capabilities on our switches. It connects via Bluetooth and uses Bluetooth and BLE to communicate to the device and bring up an initial configuration for the device.
So it's just basically the blue console for switches.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. But what it also does is then connects to NetEdit, which is a tool that I'm going to show you, which is a change configuration validation tool to get its quote-unquote golden config. Right, so this is the tool that you give to a technician, an operator, somebody that's going into the wiring closet, and it'll give him visual feedback as he configures and wires it up. And then it'll give him a green light that he's done so correctly. It can even give him, not in the current version, but it will be able to give him a BOM, basically build instructions for specific cabling as well. It's a pretty cool tool.
So does it have availability, like APIs and stuff, that you can customize this as well, or is it?
We haven't gotten that far. We haven't gotten that far. But I mean, most of us are in product management. Talk to us. Okay. NetEdit, that's the tool that I'm going to show you. That is a pretty cool, sexy tool based around, again, our APIs. All right, so there's a couple of things that were kind of understated regarding the CX operating system. That API is huge. So the APIs are auto-generated, so there is literally an API for everything available in the architecture. And this application uses that publish and subscribe methodology. Imagine, you know, traditional management tools, you know, your OpenViews, your CA Spectrums, your WhatsUp Golds, your SolarWinds, etc. Those are all based on SNMP polling. All right, when you scale the number of devices, your polling interval goes up, and at best, you know, you throw 16 cores of processor and a ton of memory at something and you can get a 5-minute, at best you can get a 5-minute poll interval. That's if you're lucky. All right, what we're talking about is near instant, real-time change updates and topology reflections that you'll see because of this publish-subscribe methodology. Okay. And then NAE, you've heard a bit about the network analytics engine. I don't recall if Scott had mentioned this or not, but from a management point of view, the thing that I believe is really powerful there is there's a lot of vendors, everybody's got SNMP, right, that you got to pull, and a lot of vendors now have streaming telemetry and flow-based telemetry, which is going out, but that's a huge dump. What NAE offers is intelligence and filtering and correlation right on the box before it actually forwards something off. So, for instance, it can filter through a whole lot of events to send a relevant event out. And that's what you would want forwarded to a ServiceNow, a trouble ticketing system, or even a higher level management system. That on-the-box filtering and correlation and analysis is huge. It's huge from a management point of view because it allows your management to scale. So, NetEdit. NetEdit leverages the APIs. It's a great tool for the transition that all IT has to go through, right? You know, I think it was Gartner that said the CLI was dead. Well, it's not dead, it's, right, but there's a change afoot, right? DevOps, we talked to, we were over at Ansible Fest, and we had a huge presence over there. Everybody, a lot of the customers that we talk to are interested in our DevOps enablement. So this tool leverages our APIs. Michael had mentioned when he was talking about the APIs, I believe that you had asked, in addition to Python, we also support Ansible. We have a Python library, and we currently have over 40 Ansible modules. We're also looking at other DevOps platforms as well. So, search, edit, validate. That's huge, right? Deploy and audit. Those are the basic premises that NetEdit was built upon. Okay. So here's an example of a workflow, and I'll show you quite a bit of this actually. So we discover the devices. We use LLDP. All right. We profile the devices. We can profile third-party devices. I'll show you a little bit about that. There's a search that's prevalent throughout the user interface, and that search it's a full query-based search. So you can say, show all configs with NTP. You can say, you can query anything. There is a cool little feature called the solution config. Now this allows you to build a form, a graphical form, customize it so that other operators can just fill in the blanks and configure. But whether you use the solution config in the UI-based, or whether you use what's called the multi-editor, edit a single device or multiple devices, everything will be validated. And the validation that's huge because that is conformance checking. So for instance, you set up, there's some default conformance rules and you can add others. So for instance, NTP server must be this. Logging must be on and going to this server, et cetera, et cetera. So those are my conformance rules. And then there's validation in terms of syntax and semantics, as well as taking a snapshot of the network state before a configuration is deployed and after the configuration is deployed, and seeing if there's any difference between the two. Then, of course, there's auditing. The architecture, as I mentioned, leverages the APIs. We use SSH where necessary. We query third-party devices with SNMP to get more information, because you're also going to see a topology with this tool. And that topology has to incorporate other third-party devices in order to be complete. And a lot has been talked about regarding NAE. We leverage NAE in NetEdit in a few different areas. One is it makes perfect sense that since we're managing the device, showing the device and its status, we get that status from the NAE agents. And I'll show you what that looks like now. So, don't know if anybody or everybody has seen NetEdit. This is what the dashboard looks like. And it gives you a snapshot of what's going on there. Those are widgets or tiles that are put on there that are fully configurable. So I'm just going to go to where hopefully everything would be 0, but here you see some policy violations. And it's going to take me right to the topology map and show me it highlighted where those violations are. Okay, so what I can do now is I want to drill down and find out a little bit more about those violations. I'm going to right mouse click, I'm going to edit the config. Everything can be a plan, so you can run plans, schedule plans, save your plans. And over here, the conformance test that it ran showed that NTP must exist. So you can see there's no NTP configuration on those series of boxes. Remember, I selected 4. This is a multi-editor. And the multi-editor as such, for instance, if let me go right there. What it does is it overlays the configurations on top of each other and shows you what is different. All right? So where you see this highlighted right like that, that's where the configurations are different.
That's slick.
Otherwise, the other entries are all similar. And we have this feature called Insights. So for instance, if I'm looking at this OSPF area there, I can get VRF information. Now, of course, there's a device list. And let me show you a cool little feature here. I'm going to grab a couple switches. And again, we can see where things are different. And let's go, if I wanted to edit, so for instance, let me try one. Oh, live demos are wonderful, huh? Okay, well, This is live from a lab, an engineering lab out in Roseville. This is a current build that's being developed, so forgive any idiosyncrasies that show up. Let me go show you one of the newer features here, and this is the topology. So what we've got here on the side are layers. Now these layers, as represented there by the application segmentation, routing, bridging, etc., they just change the visual for the topology, but they are based on information that's pulled directly from the device using the APIs, right? Because there's an event system on the device as well that this tool subscribes to. So I can get some of that information for those layers from that event system. Also, NAE. All right, so some of these are coming from NAE, some of them are coming directly from the device. So let me take off this VLAN and you'll see right away the change on the topology. Okay, so we've got a little problem. We've got a couple of things going on. Right over here in routing, we can drill down. An NAE agent is running on one of the devices. And you can see it's a default route problem. We'll come back and we'll take a look at that. Let's go down and take a look at that right there. And what it will do is now it will hyperlink over into the web UI on the switch. And you can see that my number of hops is 0. And I'll go into the alerts, details, and you can see there's no default route on the device. Can easily take care of that. Back to the topology here. We've got another error on the link. So notice the device details on the right-hand pane. And here as well for the link. And you can see here is where my problem is in my VLAN configuration. So that looks like it's that switch right there. I'm going to go ahead and edit its config. That one's got the right configuration.
Hey Les, could you answer us a question?
Yes, please, jump in.
There are a few of us that are wondering why you have the leaf-to-leaf connections.
Yeah, we were playing around last night and that got left over. Yeah.
So this isn't like a
real network? It's a lab network.
That's not what I was going to say, but I was going to say this isn't like a best practices topology.
No, not with that link right there.
Yeah.
Outside of that link, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry. Let me see if I can fix this really quick. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Well, you know what? In the interest of time, let me jump to something that does.
Actually, that brings up a question I have
Yeah.
about that. Because when you click on that, so it looks like, is it showing you the two links on either end and where the issue is? Because it looks like when you, okay.
Spanning tree issue?
So because it's showing 114 doesn't have that VLAN in there. And
That's
the
correct.
difference between,
And I was,
okay.
So let's go to 114. But it does.
But it's STP blocking.
Yeah. So let me show you another.
So does this automatically pull the configs, or do you refresh the configs? I might have missed that.
When it does a discovery, it pulls the configs, and then it periodically goes in and refreshes. But if there are any configuration changes, remember we're publishing using, we're subscribing using the API to the event system. So a link state change, an LLDP neighbor change, any change gets reflected back into the tool. I see the man with the hook.
I'm here to help if you need me.
Okay, we're about to make a change. We're going to go ahead and enable NTP, and you can see the original config and what I'm about to push. And we'll go ahead and create that. There's the validation that I was talking about. Checking syntax and semantics, also taking a snapshot of the network state before and afterwards.
So while that's finishing, are you able to like click on one of the devices and tell them, SSH into it?
Yes.
Like, can you actually click on one and get to the CLI from it, or is it only through the GUI here?
You can do that as well,
okay.
Yes.
I have another question. While this is still going.
Okay.
Could you close?
It's done.
Can you close the loop
But go ahead.
for me and talk a little bit about how this tool positions itself in the kind of the bigger universe with the orchestrator and the SD branch kind of universe that they talked about earlier in the morning?
Not directly with SD branch, but in a bigger management framework. So large enterprise data center customers already have an investment in network management, right? They're using your Spectrums, your NNMIs, and a whole host of other tools. With the Aruba switches that come into their environment, this offers them a really excellent change management system that gives them the auditing and the validation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so just kind of to kind of reflect back, what I think I'm hearing from you is that this tool is a great tool for Aruba switches in heterogeneous workplaces or networks versus kind of the all Aruba that we were looking at this morning.
We can discuss, we don't manage the third-party devices though, no, but we have to understand where they are in the network and how they're connected to the Aruba parts of the network.
So I'm just trying to like put all the pieces together in a sensible universe, so thank you.
Did that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and one last one. Does Network Analytics Engine feed into device insights at all? Do they work together? Because that would be hot like wasabi if it did.
That would be perfectly logical for that to happen.
Okay. Just asking.
I have a question as well.
Yes.
The use of this doesn't in any way limit or change your normal operating mode, if you will, of directly logging into a device and making whatever changes.
No, not at all. You can still log in via the CLI and make changes. But what you're presented with, when you go into a device through here, there's your CLI that you know and that a lot of operators are comfortable with, right? But what happens here is some insights. So for instance, remember when I clicked on an OSPF area, it showed me the VRFs. that would take you a few more steps through the CLI. A multi-editor, being able to take similar configurations, layer them, make one change, and have it apply to all of them. But then most importantly is the validation that goes. The syntax, the semantics, the snapshot of the network before and after, showing you what the diff is to make sure things, and then the conformance rules, making sure that configs have certain entries in there. I want an NTP server, I want logging on, etc.
Do you have the ability to roll back
Yes,
to my
of course.
previous?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tom, how am I doing?
You're good. You got a couple more minutes.
See, here's your change history. And if I go look at a plan, there's that option to roll back.
And the system is smart enough, if there have been multiple edits in between where I am now and where I want to go ahead and take out all of the pieces in between to take me exactly back to there, if you will.
Do I take out all the pieces in between?
So if I make a change, right,
Mm-hmm.
and so you have a snapshot of me, and then Kevin goes in and makes a change, and his change is now in there. When
Okay.
you're gonna,
You
how
made
does
a
this
change, Kevin's made a change, Tom's
Yep.
made a change. Each
Yep.
of those are reflected in that plan, which is basically your audit trail.
Yep.
And so I can go back and roll back from any one of those plans.
I gotcha.
As I started off, network changes, number one cause of downtime, number one cause of outages, depending on who you look at, Veriflow, IDC, or Forrester. Whether it's 89% or 44%, like I said, things are getting better, all right? But we've got tools to make it even less. We can simplify that orchestration. You saw the mobile app that simplifies the work for the technician in the closet. NetEdit takes a lot of the errors out by doing validation and then providing you an audit trail. So this is all going to lend itself to more efficient operations, decreased outages.